After the War of the Ring ends, after Sauron falls, after Aragorn is crowned king, Legolas does something that shocks everyone who knows him. He abandons the forests. The elf who loved trees more than almost anything, who could hear them speaking, who defended Fangorn and befriended Ents, suddenly can't stand to be near woodlands anymore. He flees to the coast. He becomes obsessed with the sea, with ships, with sailing west. His friends notice the change. He's restless, distracted, almost fevered in his need to leave Middle-earth. This isn't normal elven fading. This is something else, something desperate. The movies never show this. Most readers miss it completely. But Tolkien describes what happened to Legolas after the war, and it's not peaceful or poetic. It's a kind of madness, a calling so powerful that it overrides everything else in his life, including his friendship with Gimli and his loyalty to Aragorn. This is why Legolas went mad after the War of the Ring, and the answer reveals something devastating about what it means to be an elf in the Age of Men. The moment everything changed. The moment that broke Legolas happened during the war itself, but nobody realized it at the time. After the Battle of Pelennor Fields, Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn take the Paths of the Dead down to Peligir to capture the Corsair fleet. They sail up the Anduin in the Black Ships, arriving just in time to save Minas Tirith. It should be a triumphant moment. They've turned the tide of the battle. They're heroes. But something happens to Legolas on that journey. Something he doesn't talk about. Tolkien writes about it briefly in The Return of the King. As they sail up the river, Legolas hears the crying of seagulls. Just birds. Nothing special. Except for an elf, the cry of sea burls isn't just sound. It's a call, a deep, ancient calling that speaks directly to the elven soul. Legolas hears the gulls, and something awakens inside him, a longing he's never felt before. The sea longing, the desire to sail west to Valinor, the undying lands, becomes so powerful that everything else in his life starts to feel hollow and meaningless. He tries to ignore it. The war isn't over. His friends need him. There is still work to do, but the calling doesn't stop. It gets worse. What the sea longing actually is. So what is this sea longing that drives Legolas mad? It's not just homesickness or wanderlust. It's a fundamental part of elven nature. Tolkien explains in his writings that all elves eventually hear the call to sail west. It's an irresistible pull toward Valinor, the land where they truly belong, the place they came from in the ancient days. For most elves, this happens gradually over centuries. They slowly lose interest in Middle-earth. The world becomes gray and weary to them. They fade, becoming more like spirits than physical beings, until finally they make the choice to leave. But for some elves, the calling comes suddenly, violently, usually triggered by something specific. For Legolas, it was the cry of the gulls. Once he heard it, once that longing woke inside him, there was no going back. Tolkien describes it as a kind of madness, not insanity, but an obsession so overwhelming that it dominates every thought. Legolas can't stop thinking about the sea. He dreams about it. During conversations, his mind wanders to images of waves and ships and the distant shore of Valinor. He becomes restless, unable to settle, constantly feeling like he's in the wrong place no matter where he is, and there is nothing he can do to make it stop. The sea longing, once awakened, never fades. It only grows stronger until the elf either sails west or dies. After the war, Legolas tries to return to normal life. He stays in Minas Tirith for Aragorn's coronation. He travels with the Fellowship to see Theoden buried. He goes back to Fangorn Forest with Gimli to fulfill his promise to Treebeard. But everything is different now. The forests that once brought him joy now feel like prisons. He can't connect with them the way he used to. The trees still speak, but their voices sound distant, irrelevant. All he can think about is the sea. Gimli notices first. His friend, the elf who loved every tree and leaf, suddenly wants nothing to do with the forest. When they visit Fangorn, Legolas is distracted, impatient to leave. When they return to Ithilien, the beautiful forest realm that Aragorn gave him to restore and rule, Legolas can't focus on the work. He brings elves from Mirkwood to help rebuild Ithilien after the war's devastation. They plant new trees, clear out the remnants of Mordor's corruption, create something beautiful. But Legolas barely participates. He's physically present, but mentally somewhere else, always thinking about the sea, always hearing the cry of gulls in his memory. His friends try to understand. Aragorn offers him honors, responsibilities, anything to keep him engaged. Gimli jokes and tries to distract him, but nothing works. The sea longing isn't something you can reason with or distract yourself from. It's a fundamental rewriting of the elf's entire being. So if the sea longing is so unbearable, why doesn't Legolas just sail west immediately? Why does he stay in Middle-earth for another 120 years, suffering through this obsession? Because he made promises. And even in his madness, even with the calling tearing at him every day, Legolas keeps his word. He promised Aragorn he would help rebuild the kingdom. He promised to restore Ithilien. He promised Gimli their friendship wouldn't end with the quest. So he stays, but it costs him. Every year he remains in Middle-earth is torture. The world becomes grayer, emptier, more meaningless. He goes through the motions of living, but he's not really there anymore. Part of him is already gone, sailing west in his mind. Tolkien describes this in the appendices. Legolas establishes the elven colony in Ithilien, but he doesn't truly lead it. He's a figurehead, present, but not engaged. The actual work is done by other elves while Legolas spends his time staring toward the coast, thinking about ships in the sea. This is the tragedy of Legolas after the war. He won. His side triumphed. He helped save Middle-earth. But his reward is madness, an unending obsession that makes every victory feel hollow. Finally, after Aragorn dies in the year 120 of the Fourth Age, Legolas is released from his promises. The king he swore to serve is gone. Ithilien is established and thriving. There is nothing left holding him in Middle-earth except Gimli. And this is where something unprecedented happens. Legolas builds a ship, a gray ship in the elven style, designed to sail west to Valinor. This alone is remarkable, because there are almost no elves left in Middle-earth with the knowledge and skill to build such vessels. But Legolas manages it, driven by his desperate need to answer the calling. Then he does something that has never happened in all the history of Middle-earth. He takes Gimli with him, a dwarf. Dwarves are not allowed in Valinor. They're not immortal. They don't belong in the Undying Lands. But Legolas brings Gimli anyway, and somehow, the Valar allow it. Some scholars believe Galadriel interceded on their behalf, asking the Valar to permit this one exception because the friendship between elf and dwarf was so extraordinary. Tolkien leaves it ambiguous, but the result is clear. Legolas and Gimli sail west together, and Legolas finally finds peace. The madness, the obsession, the unbearable longing, all of it ends the moment his ship crosses into the waters of Valinor. He's home. For the first time since hearing the gulls at Pelargir, he's where he's supposed to be, and the torment stops. So why did Legolas go mad after the War of the Ring? Because he heard the call of the sea, and once an elf hears that call, everything else becomes meaningless. His love of forests, his friendships, his accomplishments, none of it mattered anymore compared to the overwhelming need to sail west. He didn't choose this. It wasn't weakness or disloyalty. It was his nature as an elf, awakened by chance during a moment that should have been triumphant. And for 120 years, he fought against it, staying in Middle-earth out of duty and love while every day the calling tore at him. That's not peaceful fating. That's torture. The madness only ended when he finally gave in, built his ship, and sailed into the west with the one friend who understood him completely. Legolas didn't get the happy ending people imagine. He got released. And in Tolkien's world, sometimes that's the best you can hope for.